And we are
Hello.
live.
We are like, hello, and welcome to the 69th episode of DevKami, and I'm Jillian.
And I'm swimming from Taikon Singapore 2016, apparently.
Great
So,
travel.
where is Tristan run by us? He's actually a
Mm,
woman who code event. That's a
yeah.
product talk where product managers and people talking about product design, all that happening at Bangsa South, I believe, or was it somewhere else?
Let's check the calendar. Is it on the calendar?
Yeah.
No, it's not on the calendar. We failed.
Oh, we failed so badly. So that's it.
What's
Tristan
the?
will be around today. He will
Yeah.
join later. So that's it. Let's start with our events. So what's happening this week?
There's this thing called Malaysian Technology Expo. What
Do
is
not
it
know who
about?
at it, but
Yes,
it's a
it
trade
is.
show.
It's a trade show.
Yeah,
It's
possibly.
actually. I think it's if you have time, you should go around going around trade show.
Yeah,
But remember to dress politely. I mean,
yeah.
as in
No
formal-ish kind of
slippers.
thing. Yes, they're gonna some of them for especially for this uh big events. They're gonna chase you out. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is
Yeah.
what they call industry event, traditional industry
Yeah.
event.
Check it
So
out.
they do have a dress code, but join them. There's always interesting because this is, believe it or not, Malaysia is still a very technology industry, meaning they will almost run by traditional businesses, people that run factories, agriculture
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Actually, from the
Meaning their
description, it mentioned about something like
inventions.
they're gonna be exhibition from schools,
Yep,
even from like secondary students, vocational. Yeah,
yep,
check it out if you're free and
correct.
around.
So and this happening on Friday till Saturday.
It's actually
Yeah. It's
today
today
until
until
Saturday. Yeah,
Saturday.
yeah,
Yep. And on Saturday, on the same day at Bangsa South, we have computer vision with PyTorch. This is the KL School of AI event. You can look at it at that's computer.com/meetups. So it's happening at 9:30 to 5 p.m. You need to bring
yeah,
a laptop and you need to know some Python and then they'll teach you how to do deep learning with PyTorch with a focus on computer vision. PyTorch is actually on my list of things to learn, but the thing is, I'm a bit late in the machine learning
I
scene
think you
in one
should.
way. Yeah, why?
If
Why
you
is
can
that?
afford it, I think if you can afford it, the time and traveling, you should join it if you're interested. I think most of these workshop are really good,
Really, you've
and
been there?
I don't know. I'm not around, but if
But
I'm around, I'm gonna join anyway.
yeah,
So
let's see. I
like,
might.
just pass the kind of comfort bubble a bit.
Yeah. Because machine learning, I'll put it this way, machine learning is different than our traditional tools in the way that we do not control it as deeply as you say. Even though we like to make joke that a lot of the so-called machine learning software is a million line of if else,
Yeah,
but the actual real technique of machine learning is different enough that you should take it up. If even if not use it, is to burst your comfort zone,
yeah,
because you need to know what you can or cannot do.
yeah.
So I officially had a AI degree that I never practiced, but the tools change so much, so I pretty much might go if I'm in mood.
Yeah,
But I
and
have
Nicholas
earrings on the
mentioned
same day.
there's a Young Innovator Awards as well. So if you're interested,
Uh
yeah, do
huh.
check it
Oh,
out. It
okay.
sounds interesting. So yep, do check it out.
Yep.
And for next week, I'm gonna have it's a dance. It's gonna organized by yours truly, Golang Meetup,
Yep.
the first Golang Meetup of the year. Because unfortunately, because Golang Meetup is normally at last Tuesday of the month.
Yep.
The December one, we cannot do the December one because it's on New Year's Eve, and
Yep.
the January one is actually Chinese New Year.
Yep.
So it's gonna be the first one, and we had some belated swags from Google that people did pick up posters, and we still have some badges for the anniversary. So it's definitely limited edition. So and
I should
also
go.
we have some plushies as well. So
Okay.
for whoever that want to speak, so if you speak, we're gonna give you a plushie, sponsored by Han. So unfortunately, we only have the gray color version. So,
Okay.
but yeah, at least you collect them all. And at the same day, there's gonna be Facebook Developer Circle Kuala Lumpur, the launch event of it. So I saw the details a bit earlier. Earlier, but why the link is gone? But I need to search it a bit. It's actually organized by Gui. Definitely, you know him. So the topic is about like industry. Wait, let me check it out.
It's actually a focus on how to join the IT industry without a tertiary degree.
Yeah, and it's gonna be one of the guy is actually, I don't know the other one. Sorry for that. Another one is Hussein. Hussein is gonna be in the panel.
Yep.
So yeah, check it out.
Yes.
So that's about it for the. Oh, and on Thursday, because since on Thursday it's gonna be KL Elixir Meetup.
Yep.
To be
and that's
confirmed.
Oh, it's confirmed.
I don't know. It's actually we need to update it because I remember they announced it. They're gonna do it in Rapid River. So as we speak, I should update it.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about the anything new.
Oh, a lot of things. So things begin to pick up. Quite a number of things. So things may pick up this year toward late February.
Yeah. A lot of people. Unfortunately, the bad news is it's a bit grim, but a lot of people died this year.
Yes. So we have the creator of Copy and Paste. So what happened is he actually created the convention of Copy and Paste when he was at Xerox. So what's the name? Oh goodness,
Lessler.
I lost it. Yeah, Lessler.
I remember his surname. His surname is Lessler.
So so he is actually a chief scientist of Apple, but before that he was actually at Xerox. Xerox Lab. Xerox at one time actually is a pioneer of
Larry Lessler. Tesla. Sorry, Tesla. We have Bert Sutherland and Pete Lawrence Montgomery.
Correct.
So
a lot of these are pioneers of computing that we should forget about. So
it's the end of the last era. So it's up to us to take up the mantle. So no, it's up to you, folks, younger folks, take up the mantle.
Correct. And they do a lot of things that we never talk about, the behind the scenes stuff, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So another thing that happened that's new is GitHub released a GUI Command Line tools. Was that covered last week?
Yay! More vendor login. Sorry.
Yeah, more vendor login. I'm a bit mixed on this for a reason. For one, everybody is using GitHub, meaning we have a command line that is specialized on their workflow. It's interesting to see how people.
It's actually helpful if you can use it to. I think it just provide a tool so you can do automation and stuff, scripting.
Correct. So it will generate the pull request, handle the pull request and whatnot, check off from pull request and all that. Unfortunately, it's not standard Git workflow, so it's their own thing. But it's interesting. It's interesting. We should look at it more. Hopefully, people don't forget the fact that Git actually exists and it doesn't do what GitHub does. So the next thing. Do you hit by the npm error? Too many requests?
No. We went. We actually had a local cage.
Okay. So this is actually very interesting. Turns out that the error is caused by a setting by Cloudflare. Cloudflare actually treat non-standard HTTP origin, non-standard HTTP header as malicious. as a result, that will actually trigger a function to actually protect websites. The problem is origins. The origins feature is being abused by npm. So in this case, it's actually purely npm fault to actually they actually set the, I believe it's the origin header as installed. So because it's non-standard, Cloudflare actually thought it is malicious and trigger a block. So what happened then is that Cloudflare actually add exception to it and make this work. It's not just one exception, but they just fine tune the application rules. So yeah, it's pretty interesting actually. I don't like the fact that within the issue, a lot of it is that blaming Cloudflare for not monitoring all that. In both sides, both is wrong because one, npm are not doing the HP request properly. They kind of divert from rules. So there's that. But yeah, it's not just. But it's a very interesting situation. So, what's interesting on your side?
Nothing. I don't think
someone.
Wait. Let me see what I shared. Let's just gonna change their way of validating your domain for security purposes, because previously they use a single prompt. So for certain organizations that has a strict firewall rules, they normally allow like a handful of IP to be able to pass through to validate. So now, because they want to, I think people should read about it. I'm not sure because I didn't finish the announcement. They are going to do multi-prong, so to avoid getting like man in the middle, getting intercepted. But it's gonna affect people with strict firewall rules, so be prepared. So instead of one, they're gonna do like a few steps. Yeah, not gonna affect normal users. Yeah,
it will impact me because I work with an organization that is pretty traditional. Often their application is internal-ish, in a way that it's accessible public, but everything must be firewalled due to strict security. So which I don't agree with, but
you guys use Let's Encrypt?
We do, believe it or not, because it's effective in cost and.
I think just check out the articles, the announcement, and see what you guys. It's actually an announcement, so to prepare you guys in case you guys cannot like refresh your cert and then your domain gets revoked. I mean, you get a bad cert and your visitors cannot do anything.
Yes. So it'll be interesting for the team because of the very old way of IT not in our company, more of the organization we work with. So that's that.
Yeah. Anything else?
Oh, there's a lot. Come on. We're going to squeeze as much time as possible, man.
Actually, I feel like I let you go first.
This one is from you. There is this thing called a Passeto token.
Yeah, it's not something new. It's a saner alternative to JWT.
Yep.
So apparently, according to most security people, the specification for JWT is a joke because it's allowed too much freedom for the implementers.
Okay.
So Passeto is the dude actually that complains about it. He not just complained. He actually I forgot his name actually. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Scott Arsiski. So he actually came up with matching sim. I mean that is not too far away from JWT, but it's actually a saner standards, and it's actually Okta actually Okta is one of the providers of about Auth0 or Firebase Auth as this. They are one of these like what do I call it? Let me go to their website. What do they call themselves? Like they're basically authenticated or the Auth services or Auth aggregators. They wrote an article about that, so do check it out if you're interested. So and there's a few, and the clients and server codes are actually available for most major programming languages. Like in my case, there's a Golang client and server library. Right. So check it out. If you're doing like homebrew stuff, check it out. If you like, it's actually still. I mean, not homebrew like as in if you're implementing it for your own infrastructure, might as well like try it out. So that's the better alternative, supposedly. I didn't actually have the time to read through it yet, but check it out. And another one is that AMD is apparently eating the market.
Yes.
So more laptops coming out with AMD, and Google Cloud just announced that they have an N2D VM that are based on AMD. So they are eating the world.
Well, the trend had been AMD rise for a while.
Yeah.
Then for some reason it will go down.
Yeah.
It's a circle, but I love it because last time this happened, the Intel actually tried to pick up the market and new things comes up. Then AMD goes up again and all that.
And this 64 was a big contribution because the standard allows interoperability with the 32-bit instructions.
Correct.
So previously, if I remember correctly, like some of the existing 64-bit system are limited to 64-bit only. Like you cannot run 32-bit application unless you're running Mac OS nowadays.
Yes.
So you cannot run the 32-bit, but you can still execute them if you want to. But that's MG64 is like a best middle ground. From my limited memory, I didn't actually went into research. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and it's pretty important in a way that because they are the first to introduce 64-bit to consumer hardware.
Yeah.
So your Linux, for example, used the term AMD 64 for a while before x86 is default 64-bit now.
Yeah.
So AMD is awesome. They have cool laptops and all that. They have some 16-core nowadays. I do not know why the hell we need that for. But
anytime we have competition, it's actually good for the consumer.
Yes.
For progress.
So the thing is, in what level the competition? That's the interesting part. So because cable standard, maybe that is not worth that much, but CPU technology complicated, very advanced. Maybe that is more interesting.
Yeah.
So
very
this
delicate.
level of this. Yeah, correct. And in this case, it's also different because CPU are interoperable, meaning you do not have to reinstall all your operating system when you switch between these two microprocessors, and that's awesome.
Yeah, people, the compilers, it's actually the compilers people that did the hard work for you.
Yeah, true. And we don't have to switch everything on the whole OS and all that, which is awesome. I think the final thing that we're going to raise is actually so the guys at engineers.my discovered a website called Cube Academy, I believe.
Yeah.
You want to learn Kubernetes, join it.
My advice is don't unless you need it.
Yeah.
Use the cloud version if you can.
Learn why you need it. Don't jump for sake of buzzword.
Just jump on it.
Yes.
Don't go directly to production for things that you're not familiar with. Right?
Correct.
It's a bit like neggish, like it's like a sign of age where I nag people. Don't jump directly into jump straight into like container and Kubernetes, because if you're not familiar with the operating system, you're gonna have a lot of misery trying to make things work, and when things fail, you have to deal with it.
Are you suggesting that we should just use serverless and call it done?
I suggest that people that start should just use whatever they're comfortable with, so they can pick it up. And meanwhile, try to get used to or at least the OS level, system level things So
Okay.
don't jump straight into it. Like, don't go around like it's just me, but things change. So
Yes.
at least if you know how to set up your own server, it doesn't. You can always set up your own, and regardless.
Yeah.
Like,
The whole
if
point
you're
of setting your own server.
if you're familiar with
organized.
Linux on a desktop, you should be fine with Linux on a Raspberry Pi or anything that can run Linux.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, Uncle Chi. So this is a comment. You check. Yes, Uncle Chi.
Yes, Uncle.
Unfamiliar.
Yes, Donaldson. I'm
Yes,
Chi Leong. It's not Chi. Yeah.
So it's Uncle Leong.
No.
All right, I think that's about the news today, because we're really out of idea what to talk about. But that being said, I discovered a book called it's called the Linux. Okay, this is a bad one. The Linux Programming Interface by Michael Peria. I hope you can see it. It's too. Yep, the Linux Programming Interface.
Yes.
This book is interesting in a way that it's super dry. It's super dry, but while it's a very dry book, I would also still recommend it if you want to learn about Linux, because as far as I know right now, there's no book that go to cover API level description of the Linux operating system. And when most of us here talk about most of the people here talk about operating system UI, often we cover service UI level. What else do I miss?
Oh, it's not. It's Nicholas. It's not next week. It's gonna be the week after.
Yeah. Also, we have the guest the week after. I will talk about it.
We're gonna tease. No, we're gonna tease the teaser. So next week we're gonna tease the guest for the week after.
Yeah, correct.
So.
So operating system, right? So whereas on Linux, your API is very different in a way that you don't have a user interface directly. You don't talk about what widget is available, or how do you send event and whatnot. So for example, this book, it will cover things like why your user file is called /etc passwd, because traditionally Unix store the password in plain text, and in your I hope I can show it to you.
Do you want to show me your passwords?
Let me see. Passwd. Cool. Very cool. I'm going to share my screen. I hope. Yes, I know they're going to use. I hope it works. I hope it don't crash. It might crash. Am I crash?
No.
Oh, it hangs. Am I hang?
I can still hear you and see you.
Okay. So I was hoping to share a screen. I think it crashed because.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
Yeah. So about the book, right? It'll cover pretty deep into the API of your Unix operating system. But it also cover things that you don't usually talk about when you talk about operating system.
Oh, you're gone. Swimming is gone. So I'm on my own. Okay, folks, ask me anything while swimming is connecting. My password, Donaldson, is Hunter2. Have fun. Let me message swimming. So, what else? Now we are having some awkward silence. Let me read stuff from Reddit. So, Cloud Vision API will not return gendered labels such as men and women after February 19. Okay. So, yeah, he'll be back. So, why SQLite succeeded as a database? Of course, SQLite is awesome. Oh, and there's this NIM community survey running. Oh, it's the results for 2019. Oh, yeah, NIM, check it out if you're interested. I think swimming needs to restart or something. So what are the interesting one? I don't see anything interesting. Let's see what are the other stuff going on. Nope. Not much. Yeah, setting up a Raspberry Pi 4 home server. Yes, if you're familiar with building a server elsewhere, you're gonna, beside the architecture, you're gonna be similar. And one thing that is different for Raspberry Pi is there is no hardware clock. So if you require, oh, I'm actually doing a filler. I'm actually talking. I was reading stuff from Reddit and Hackers News, and I'm onto this, like setting up a Raspberry Pi 4 home server. So I was mentioning, if you're familiar with building a system, so you're gonna be familiar with building it with any hardware that support it, like including Raspberry Pi. But the architecture is different.
Yes.
You have to be careful. And if you use something like Python, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
And the difference also is Raspberry Pi doesn't come with a hardware clock.
Yep.
So so if your startup requires, especially if you're doing something like, I have one Raspberry Pi that's powering the DNS quick proxy. So TLS actually requires you to have a correct time. So for Raspberry Pi, you actually need to have I forgot the tool that you need to install and make sure some of them work first. Like you need to sync up the time and make sure you have enough entropy before, or else you're gonna be stuck there, and it's not gonna serve you answer your request. And at home, nobody. If you do it at the home scale of things, nobody at home can access anything.
And that's why you need to go deep into your operating system. Actually, so it's related to the book I'm talking about. Often we talk about operating system level, modern days, we talk about UI widgets, service provided by operating system. It's very high level. We are thinking about it almost always on the user level, which but but Raspberry Pi is awesome because so they give you all the basic, but they also give you opportunity to go very deep. So something that your iOS, your Windows, your Android doesn't provide, even though Android promised to be a Linux operating system, but you don't get to know how Linux work. Again, my personal wall to protect general purpose computing. So, but it's relevant. So, which is why this book, the Linux programming interface, It's a book that I recommend. So because the thing is, your operating system is very deep, right? It had a lot of stuff. When you talk about memories, processes, you almost always hope that the operating system just do things automatically, and they can do things automatically. But how do they do things automatically? Things get really interesting from there. Your memory grows, right? Yeah, correct. So it will describe things like there's code segment and there is memory segment. Then there's
Yeah,
heap
Donaldson
like
is
that.
giving
It
you
grows.
suggestions
Yes,
in details. Yeah, it's meant to be. I think it's meant to be onboarding books.
correct. It's an onboarding
So
book. But
yeah,
the thing that's described the book
I have
is
the
deeper
Linux
than most.
system programming. If you
Yep,
jump right into it, really it's
hard.
really dry. Not hard. It's really
Yeah, and this one is
off-putting.
considerably easier,
Personal
right?
opinion.
Correct. But that's the thing about operating system is system level programming is very interesting, and we just don't talk about it anymore because it's not a sexy thing, and it's forgivable because often when you do application, you don't have to know it. You really don't have to know it. But I but don't you think as a hacker, as a developer, wouldn't you think that it'd be interesting to know how things work deep down, right? Even though it won't give you a job, it's not a sexy thing. It's not
It's not
buzzworthy.
gonna help you. It's not gonna help you immediately, but if you are planning to scale, and you want to have build something that is more performant, then it might
Yeah.
knowing some of these things will help you out.
Yes. And
And
so that you don't do things crazy thing like removing user ID one that the
yeah.
system D does. Like come on, it have a meaning, and you learn this. You learn this by reading books like this, understanding system programming, right? Other and if you want to learn about security, this is how you start understanding the system. Not smacking keyboard and using metasploit and getting things done, right? Uh, so that's my thing about this book. I like it. It's super dry. It's easier. It's not as dry as you think, but it's pretty dry compared to things that we do nowadays. I would still recommend this book. A bit expensive, but I get this from Humble Bundle sometime back. I believe I get this from Humble Bundle. So this is the first book I recommend. Linux application programming. What else? What else do we have? Oh yeah, currently I'm reading about time, which is oh my goodness. Printing time, make time. My God.
What
Drive me
time as a
nuts. Time infrastructure on the Linux side, and they don't talk about NTP. How your kernel keep time and all that. So this I'm on that right now. So either way, this book highly recommend it. Very highly recommend it. Not cheap if you get it directly, but it would be something that new that a lot of us as a modern day
um
software developer would know.
question: how often you buy bundles from Humble Bundle?
Uh, I I used to have once a month, but now it depends on the quality. It also depends on the type of book that they have.
Do you
So, for
really finish them?
example, often yes, but I do not finish all the book. I finished some of the book. Currently, I already finished. Let's see. I have
There's
wrote this for
this
this reason.
um there's
Yeah.
currently two book bundle running. One is
Yep.
about
Correct.
user experience.
Yep.
Another one is love, dating, and sex.
Oh, there's another one for cybersecurity. Do they still have it?
I think that's over.
Yeah. Okay. That one is
Oh,
interesting
let's
because
see.
I actually
Oh,
there's actually
cybersecurity is
have a
still around. I just got
yep.
distracted by the very oh okay choice items. Oh, it's actually quite a lot.
Yep. So I don't finish all the book, but I do read quite a lot of those from the Humble Bundle. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's just meh, but not too bad, not too bad. So for example, things that I recommend it if you can get it. It's pretty cheap nowadays. It's about learning statistics with Python. So it teaches some basic about statistics if you're interested in data science. But if you're just interested
in general, statistics is very helpful in life.
Oh yeah, yes. I have this argument here. School should teach statistics instead of calculus, though calculus leads to statistics, but statistics is more practical in a way that when they say, for example, the latest virus, right? So people are saying that it's infectious. Yes, it's infectious. How many people die? Probability, right? So things that let me share the link. Things that where is the Oh, I can't type live comment. Goodness. Oh, okay. I know why. I love Goodreads. So this book is actually from Humble Bundle, and they have it a few times. So which is why I recommend that. Then sometimes I actually get the book on the Make Magazine bundle. The Make Magazine bundle is pretty interesting, but it kept repeating, so I didn't actually get those anymore.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on the public chat.
Yep. So, for example, another one I read is actually designing bots. Designing bots. This is also from a bundle, but this one is not out quite as often. This one is not as good, but it's interesting because it's about designing bot. So it's something that I don't see often, but
I actually read a few, but I forgot about their name. They were more textbook-like, but they are very helpful. Yeah. Let me check them up. Let me find them up. So you go on.
Yep. I have a few books that's from Humble Bundle, so I'm digging it as you speak right now.
Yep.
From Goodreads. Often as well, Humble Bundle have some machine learning book that covers deep learning and all that. Be a bit careful about it because some of this library move too fast. What do we mean by that? So, for example, when they come out with the old version of the Tensor book, they use TensorFlow. With TensorFlow 1 really and TensorFlow 2, which use significantly different API. So something you need to think about before you jump into some of the Humble Bundle book. So there's a pitfall for that.
Oh no, it's a different book. But if you guys are interested, I actually read this called it's a textbook, Network, Crowds, and Market: Reasoning About a Highly Connected World.
Oh, okay.
Network science.
Yeah, network science is interesting. Highly underrated. Very highly. It's very underrated.
Very close to us, but
yes,
very underrated, like you say. But it's a textbook.
Yeah, it's a textbook. It's also one of those things that describe the economy nicely. You need the reason why people prefer to stay in this, people work well in the city is because it's highly connected. As a result, you gain more relationship for business, etc. But even though and they can all of these relationship through business, learning, and whatnot, those are generally can be generalized as a network.
Oh, I found it. It's teaching statistics, a bag of tricks.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's the one that I had. Don't remember why, but it's generally very helpful. Like it's a certain terminology, and when people like try to put false things, and it's actually very good to come up with estimation without and how do you do those sampling and those like specific details of just read it up. So and I mean read up a bit on statistics. It's gonna be really helpful anyway.
Correct. Another book that I would recommend that occasionally keep coming up from Humble Bundle is I mean, I recommend the data science book. Those are cool, but the API is a bit old. You need to be careful. I think I lost it. I got quite a few, but I keep losing it around. Oh well. If there's a dedicated show for it, then I would just copy it.
This is a dedicated show.
Oh, this is a dedicated show. Cool.
Yeah. So what else? Let's see what since we are open our book stuff, we just threw a bunch of books.
Yeah. So I do not know whether you can see my book list in public.
I can see your book list because I added you.
Oh yeah, correct. So I've already talked about the Vision and Profit. There is one. Console Wars are done. Console War is interesting because often when we talk about how a piece of technology win a market, the technical, the nerds inside me mostly would first think of the ability for the engineer to make interesting and good product to win the market. A Console War, even though it's about game console, it's not about that. Believe it or not, it's not about that. Sega can do a 32-bit game in the 16-bit era. Nintendo have very good game design.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to experience the Sega Dreamcast. It was really ahead of its time. But afterwards, PS2. I mean, it's released around with PS2. It's much more powerful. With even a network adapter, the control is pretty advanced as well. But the problem is that it's more about the execution and decision of the companies.
Correct.
So it's unfortunate.
Correct. So inside the book, you will see that it doesn't cover that far until PlayStation 2. It covers some PlayStation X or the early PlayStation.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, the decision making are not by engineers, unfortunately. It's by the sales and how to sell the product, bundling.
And no, actually, it is related to engineer, which is the PS3.
Yeah.
PS3 rules up the market because the cell processor were really hard to program with.
Correct.
So it's very powerful if you know how to utilize it, but how to do it right and even how to use it is very complicated. Correct. So, when people like normally game studio, they have abstracted kind of a game engine, and that's why even though it has a much better performing processor, different kind of processor for this and that, the games are actually performing worse under PS3.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the execution part.
Correct.
But flashy is not necessarily. The developer ergonomics is very important as well. So don't chase them.
So I still recommend the book because it's a reminder that when you sell technology, it's not just about pushing the technology. It's about selling. It's about business strategy and all that. Sometimes technology dominates not because it's the best. It dominates often because of the deals between. Oh, what happened to me? Okay, deals between consumer. Obviously, consumer like this. How do you attract the consumer? Advertisement, and how the advertisement strategy goes to that. Often it comes to aligning engineering and delivery of the product, and how do you sell the product even in a situation where it's dominated by the marketing, creative marketing, controversial if needed and whatnot. So I would So yeah, I read Console Wars to understand business and technology. I recommend that. Uh, as a gamer, we would not think about it. We always think about gameplay and not that.
But
But that's not always true. Yeah,
until which generation the book cover for Console
PSX.
Wars?
Genesis, one generation after Genesis, Saturn, just barely Saturn and the PSX. Just
Yeah.
barely that. It didn't reach Dreamcast. It didn't reach the
I think
Dreamcast,
it's one of the
PS2.
lesson of Genesis is that Sega, instead of investing on a newer platform, they develop a very expensive plugin for Genesis
Correct.
to run
Correct.
CD, but on a last gen kind of hardware.
Yeah, correct. So, but at that time, you need to understand that they do not. It's still an expensive technology, so they try to sell to the parents as well as the kid. You see, so teenagers and people like us would buy it because of the pixels and all
Yeah.
that. But for parents, they're not too keen about it because ultimately they're selling this for teenagers and all that. Even though the marketing strategy include early 20-year-old and all that. So yeah, console wars. We did to learn about business. Then spaceship next door. Not as it's interesting, but man, have you read the Randall Monroe's book? He do the
No,
XKCD.
I think we our collections are very opposite
Oh
of each
really?
other. Yeah, read a lot about philosophy.
Okay, I'm a bit of I'm a nerd, so I tend to be very technical.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm
we
a
have
I'm a I'm a well-being guy, even though I don't look like a hipster
yeah.
that consume juice
Often the
for
view one
meal.
do not look like a hipster.
Yeah, yeah.
So I remember one
And
of old Python guy. He doesn't look like a Python. So he's an engineer and all that, but he know Tai Chi Chuan, no Tai Chi Chuan,
yeah,
Ba Chi Chuan.
yeah.
So yeah, you
Oh,
won't know that he's a master of it. So yeah, often people that are not actually. It doesn't show their look a lot. So
if you
either way,
if
yeah,
you
go
can
on.
bear with the speed, I should recommend Siddhartha.
Okay.
By it's not it's by a German author.
Yep.
So the conclusion is actually there is the point is trying to reach is that salvation or enlightenment is personal. So everybody has
Yep.
their own. I mean, there's no one proper way of doing it, and there is
Yep.
no too late to do that. I mean, and you find your own. It's
Okay.
not necessary you have to follow a doctrine. So
Yep. So random book on my list. Oh, have you heard of a book called Because Internet?
no.
How Internet. Uh, did I talk about this? I believe I might have talked about this. Understanding how language is changing.
Yeah, no.
Oh, interesting. I never
But,
thought about this book.
yeah.
Uh, so this the author is a linguist. She studied language on the internet,
Oops. Okay.
language works. So she's a linguist, meaning she know how language work.
I think
But
yeah, I'll
yes,
let you finish first.
but internet present a very interesting area for linguistic research because uh, platform providers Twitter and all that release all the data sets are for research, anonymized, but you still can learn how language evolve because those things include time often. So from there, you'll see how language change, and language change outside the internet involve things like location, culture, and influence. So, which is why your parents talk differently than you, and your nowadays notice that your niece or whoever kids that's under 20 are talk different. You have their own term of things that we don't understand because things are different along the way, right? It's the same on internet. Sometimes you go on internet, subcultures have their own little dialect. The same way that new software developers talk about open source. What is open source to our sector? People don't know. So internet also make it interesting for language because it's easy for us to form subculture. So anime is a term that's suddenly comes up on the internet because a lot of us start to follow the idea anime. But previously, people do not know what the hell is anime, right? Uh, peop, uh, the type of people in the 90s that would know anime would be very different than people that know what is anime in the early 2000s, and is very different about about what is an anime now. Because the type of exposure to that is very different in context, communication, area, and medium.
I think we have to keep our mind open, like even the culture and language change over time.
And that's the point of the whole book.
Yeah.
Things change, right?
Things change.
I recommend this because
if you want to
things
say like,
change, and also why emoji is not language.
It's a bit political. We try not to cover it, but if you want to say like we want to protect like the culture, it's not like I'm forsaking like all cultures, but if I want to say like be fixated to a certain culture, to what extent do we want to go back to like since like from Africa, so like that. So it's a bit slippery slope, but
it's not as easy. It's not an easy thing to actually decide, because turns out that culture also covers.
Keep an open mind. Take what is good.
Yeah,
I think Japanese culture is one of the things, because Japanese actually went through a lot during the last 2 centuries, and what we see about like Japanese traditional cultures are actually not so traditional. So
precisely, they are not. It's the same for Chinese. Chinese culture can be at some place. It's not so we only see the surface of Chinese New Year and all that, but a lot of the things from Chinese New Year are only introduced for the past 50 years.
Yeah, and some of the things like the way the Chinese culture in, let's say, Malaysia, after let's just shorten it a bit, like just a century, because in the last century we actually communicate more, because it's easier to communicate compared to the previous few centuries, because things used to move really slow, like you are doing what your great grandparent is doing, something like that. But over the last 100 years, things changed a lot, and you can see like how different it is and how unique it is for us compared to like the mainland or like Hong Kong or Taiwan. But but the problem is that we have this a bit of we think this is I mean, for some it look like, I mean, we treat it as deviant, but it's actually fine, because it's uniqueness to our own, like it's our, I mean, Creole culture or whatever that is. Yeah. Even our local accent is special on its own. We should embrace it and appreciate more. Gradually we gradually we converge, so doesn't matter anyway.
Yes, it's so. What other book you recommend before we close?
Meditation by Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, that is ancient. It kept translating every few.
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius is actually a Roman emperor.
He's an emperor.
Yeah, but the book is about Stoicism. Check it out. Like the one that Swimming been doing on Facebook, like the burnout index is a way for you to see through things. It's just work. It's just, I mean, for me, work is just work. But there's nothing. We have more control over the things that we think, like, instead of if we think we can cover it, just do it. But do know when to stop. Do know when to take a break. It's always it's never ending. So do not like try to push through. I mean, see how much you can endure.
Yeah. So the thing is nowadays, I do not take. So that's not stoicism, but I have tendency to think about work as work, and that's it.
Yeah,
I
that's it.
don't. I don't attach my value to work, which is a good thing actually.
There are values, but we should know when to disconnect. We should know, like, we should prioritize.
Correct.
So like
So
see, even an emperor has issue. So like that's why he wrote a lot about this, because everybody
yes.
at regardless of your circumstances have different kind of problems. So it's a matter of how do we solve it. Even an emperor has a lot of problems to solve.
Mhm. So yeah. Also, Rome is a bit messed up in a way that for a while, okay, or Marcus Aurelius is a bit later. What was it? Yeah, is but Rome, believe it or not, is full of crises. A few consuls died here and there. Then there's dictators. So yeah, Rome still be based on that. But I try not to have too much pride at work and all that. But no, or things like that. I don't know.
You should be
I
proud.
don't know.
You should be proud of what you're doing.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, so
Yeah.
final book that I would recommend uh, is 1177 BC, The Year Civilization Collapsed by Eric Klein. So what do you know about the Great Bronze Age collapse?
No, I've no nothing at all.
So a lot of people do not know that. It's underestimated. It's underestimated, but it's very interesting because uh, Greece that we know of are actually emerged after a collapse of civilization. Uh, Egypt survived, but a number of people in the Mediterranean actually uh, died because they blame it on the sea people, but it's actually more complicated than that. So what happened is at that time, there's a lot of civilization collapse, as they say, right? The Great Bronze Age collapse. Nobody really knows why. There's a few thousand-year old Dark Age. People do not remember literacy other than Egypt because they're so big. They don't remember about literacy. Greece had to relearn the language. There's some language that exists, a linear A and linear B. Those are language of the Bronze Age collapse. So at the Minoan, there's some civilization gone and all that. So it's actually they attributed partly to climate change, partly to war. In this case, it's not too different from us happening right now. Uh, so the thing is, the question that raised is, right? But does war cause collapse? In this case, the sea people are said to attack throughout the Mediterranean everywhere. So they literally invade all the islands, sack and all that. But that alone don't take down civilization. What actually take down civilization? Turns out that there are also things like climate change is a factor, and each of the city are depends on other city by trade for essential items. Sorry, and when the trade down, we cannot be independent as a result thing. So one of the things that introduced in this is a concept called system collapse. System collapse is, as a software technical person, we understand a system, but what happened is that a lot of things goes wrong at the same time, cause a collapse of a big system, trade and whatnot. It's very similar to how software goes wrong. Often, our software is a bit more brittle in a way that one thing can break everything. But sometimes when we have multiple things happening, imagine your DDoS. A DDoS may be started from attack through a network to block resources, but every time you go through it, then waste more resources on the server, causing other errors, then go on, they cause cascading failure, and as a result, it's very hard to recover. So there is one way you can see what is a system collapse. So this book, 1177 BC, the year civilization collapse. I recommend this because it gives you a different idea on. It's a eye-opening book on how civilization works, and things that many people never heard about. That is interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we should wrap up.
So before we wrap up, so the thing is, I invited Sean. Sean Tan is actually an engineer. He's a chip designer. He runs a software. He runs consultancy to teach people at Harvard Design and all that. Very smart guy. Had an actual PhD design. I should show you a few tweets of the reason why I asked him. Actually, I know him for other reason. He also studied law. He's not practicing, but he's just studied. So let me see whether I can find him. Yep. Ta-da. He talked about chip design and all that. So we have a lot of opportunity to ask him. But I think for the show, the week after next week on the 5th March, will be mostly covered about difference between hardware and software. But that's how it goes. But I'm part because of his tweet on that. But we didn't confirm much yet, but it just means that it's very likely to happen on that time. So let's see how it goes now.
Yep. Hopefully we can get someone up next week. So yes, let's see how it goes.
Yes.
Yep. We're gonna have more interviews.
Correct. Then finally, Nicholas is saying that statistics is quite essential nowadays. Every time I think get questioned about numbers. Well, Nicholas is a bit different because he worked with BFM. I believe it still is. BFM is had a focus on economy and all that. As a result, talk more about economic statistics, but it's still correct actually. It helped make sense of numbers when they're thrown at you in the news. Numbers often throw at you to convince you of something or scare you for something. But if you have some statistical knowledge, you generally can analyze it and understand that whether it makes sense or not. That's how I changed the world. So, for me. So that's it. I think we can wrap up now.
Yep. Nicholas is saying, right.
Yeah.
That's about it.
All right. Yep.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
Yep.